Hello friends and enemies, welcome to or back to Happy for Now. It's me Isabel here with my August highs, lows, surprises, stats, all the things. This is a month in which I am so grateful I do not talk about every single book I read. I mean, I do in vlogs, but like I don't do like a wrap up in which I discuss them because I read so much. I need you to understand one thing. I was like looking at my notes and I was like, I think I'm missing something. I realized I missed like 3 volumes of manga. So I quickly updated my spreadsheet to add those, and I was at 54 books. I'm at 57 technically. Like, August was wild. If you don't know, August was the amazing readathon. It looks like there's gonna be another one next year, so keep your eyes peeled. We'll figure that out soon. But I'm really excited to participate in the next round because it had me reading so many things I'd been putting off and things that were like on my radar and I hadn't read yet. Just so much happening. So yeah, we're just gonna dive straight into stats. And as I talk about this month's reading, I want you to remember that you don't have to read like me. I'm not judging you if you read 0 books. I'm not judging you either which way. I really don't care what your reading life is as long as you're happy with it. That's my like main concern. Are you happy with your reading life? I'm happy with mine. I'm taking September kind of easy, but it may not be also a month for people who feel self-conscious if they see me putting up large numbers because it's 30 and 30 this month. So I say I'm taking it easy, but I've already read like 10 volumes of manga like in a weekend, in 3 days. I've read like 10 volumes of manga. So like again, just it's okay. You can leave. It's cool. But yeah, like I said, my main priority is you're happy with your reading and I'm happy with mine and we're good. There's no biggie. So let's talk about my stats. So yes, I read a total of 57 books in the month of August for 12,675 pages. My average rating was a 4.18, which is amazing. I'm stunned my average was this high because I was just reading a ton of stuff that, I mean, a lot of my manga are mangas I'm 99.9% sure I will enjoy. Specifically if I'm buying them physically, I'm usually reading a volume or 2 at the store. Like I'm doing things to vet what comes into my house and onto my shelves because it's an investment and I don't want to spend gobs of money and then hate a book, right? And I listened to 43 hours of audiobook, which is a huge jump from previous months. I've been averaging around 20 to 30 a month, and I really was able to just get back into audiobooks heavily this month, which I think was fantastic for me. I read 3 KU titles, and I read a total of 28 books from the library, and some of those were manga digitally that I got via the library. So like that's incredible to me. Our age demographics were 20 adult titles and 23 YA titles, as well as 2 middle grades. So I think that's pretty exciting as well. I'm honestly like, not a bad surprise, but like a good surprise at how that broke down, if that makes sense. Like I was happy to pick up some middle grades. I really miss reading middle grades, so that may be something I dabble in a little bit more later this year. We'll see. And then for our format breakdown, I read 6 ebooks, 11 audiobooks, 37 manga, no graphic novels. And yeah, that's like, wow. This is my second highest reading month of the year. My first highest was the last round of 30 and 30 in April, I think, or March, where I read like 70 books. And honestly, I'm looking to probably read even more than that this month in September. Somehow, I do not know what magic happened. I don't know what Brianna over at 4 Paws and a Book put in to this readathon, but like it didn't give me a slump. And I think it was the unpredictability of it because, well, it's not fully unpredictable, okay? You know you're gonna get a prompt every 3 days-ish, right? Because there's 10 prompts, 31 days. Makes sense. And I think that really helped because I didn't always know what the next prompt would be, so I would just be like picking up whatever manga or short book I had that could fit the prompt, and it just kept me going because it was a change of pace. And I did skip 1 prompt, like I fast forwarded through a prompt, so like that's a thing I did. But yeah, I think it was really interesting to see just how much I managed to read with these prompts. It was a really fun way to look at my TBR. And it gave me some inspo for my members only readathon we're gonna do in November for my birthday. Yeah, so get ready, y'all. I mean, you're not gonna get mystery prompts, but we're gonna do some kind of similar prompts, I think. All right, let's talk about Read What You Own. So earlier this year, I kicked off a thing called Read What You Own, where I wanted to read more of what I owned. I kind of fell off mid-year a little. Feel like I bought too much, so I'm continuing it and continuing to track it, and I've like found a new rhythm for how I track it. There's an update video down below if you're curious. I will link to that. But my my August stats are as follows. I acquired 27 new books in August. This includes ARCs, books I buy, books I get like pre-orders, any of that. Like all of that is included, right? I read 25 of those books that I acquired, or 25 books I already owned, DNF'd 3 books I already owned, and I netted a positive of 1 book read. So like total, I came out ahead from what I bought. So like I'd read more than I bought. So that's good. That's kind of where I'm leaning. I'm trying to read more than I'm buying basically each month. I would like to come out net positive as far as reducing my TBR. The current stats for my reading though, I have 815 unread books on my Kindle, 89 books on NetGalley. I did get like 2 new NetGalleys and reviewed 2 NetGalleys, so like it happens. Edelweiss, I went up by 5. So I have 27 now unread. Libro FM, I stayed even at 112, so that's really exciting. I should see that number go down more this month because like I barely got any in September. Audible, I went up by 1 as well. Manga, I went up just by 1, but I foresee my manga number dropping significantly this year, so I'm at 195 right now. Digital mangas, I went down from 43 to 35 from the check-in in July. And then light novels, I also went down by 1. So I had 10 light novels on my TBR and I'm down to 9. So that's progress. And that number should also start dropping a good bit here because I have like My Happy Marriage to read and we'll talk about it. It's here. We'll talk about it. And then physically, my TBR went up by 4. I have 64 unread books on my TBR, which I do want to like recount, and I'll recalibrate everything in the beginning of the year, but I honestly, this is like the most productive month for me, again, after the main like 3-month focus of this challenge. So I'm happy because I need a balance where I don't feel like I'm not going to feel guilty for any ARCs, whether they're audio or digital ARCs that I get, because here's the thing. I read them eventually. Often if it's certain authors, I prioritize them sooner than others, but I do my best to really stay on top of reading certain ARCs that I get in time. So because of that, I like to make sure I just take the ones I'm interested in and pick, like literally specifically pick books I'm interested in versus getting ones that I have no interest in. So that's kind of been my goal. It's working pretty well for me and I'm really excited to see what I do in September. Specifically, if I can get my manga one under 175 volumes, I will be thrilled. My digital manga should also drop a lot because I'm reading a lot of my digitals that I picked up lately. I've really been enjoying reading on my Kindle Fire tablet for my manga lately. It's just been a really nice experience, especially when the manga through the library are on the like weird browser thing. So that's been nice. All right, let's jump right into my lows and DNFs. I did pick 3 books per category because I had to limit myself in some capacity. Don't worry, you're getting a manga wrap-up log situation in October, which will cover the last 3 months of the insane amount of manga I've read. We'll do that then. We'll talk about it all, don't worry. Okay, the first book I DNF'd is Casio Servant. I was so sad because we read this for podcast chapter 3. We read Kushiel's Dart and Casio's Servant, and Kushiel's Dart remained top tier amazingness. Casio's Servant I knew was a retelling, but I didn't expect a character who hated himself, basically, / didn't want to be a main character, in my opinion. It was a struggle. Like the first 20 or so % of this was fantastic and I loved it. We got a lot of backstory as to the Casio Servant's like situation, what that means, Jocelyn's like origins, and then he meets Phaedra and it's so boring. So dull. And how do you make this series that is like a classic, like a modern classic, that dull and boring, right? Like how? Like I don't know, but she did, and it makes me sad. I really wish this had been like a novella or something, like something shorter, maybe like some bonus chapters at the end of the new repubs. Like I don't know, but I am sad. Very, very sad that I didn't love this. So I'm sending this on to one of my members because they loved it. So it's gonna have a new home soon and I'm very happy for it because it's just not, was not for me, which is just, again, like I said, kind of disappointing at the end of the day, but it is what it is. It happens. Not everything has to work for you, right? I just continue to be disappointed to say the least. My other DNF is Loving Her by Anne Allen Shockley. I continue to want to Don't ask me why. It's the A names. I'm like, wait, this is written by a woman. This is the first mainstream, like it's not the first, like there were coded texts, right, that were sapphic, but this is one of the first Black sapphic romances. This features an interracial romance though. And I got to about 60 to 70%. We had the live show because I continue to struggle through these because there's no audio options and they're just kind of boring. But these have been really fun to discuss with everyone, honestly. So I'm glad I'm reading them and I'm glad to be part of the group even though I keep failing at reading these. This book has such graphic rape on the page that it was like jarring. If not for the foreword, I think I would have been like traumatized personally, like by the content in this book. The foreword though basically gives you the entire book's plot. It should have been an afterword possibly with like some content warnings on the front, because we literally got walked through the entire book's plot in that foreword. And I read it not knowing this, and by the time I realized it was too late, there was no turning back. I was there. We were gonna read it. So yeah, I made it about 60%, got on the live. I'm spoiling this. Sorry, not sorry. The daughter just dies, like her like 8-year-old dies in a drunk driving accident with her ex-husband, and then she just like moves on with her life. And I just feel like using a child as a plot device, even back then, is gross, and I'm not here for it. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. So yeah, we're here. It's a no for me at the end of the day, and that's okay. It happens. I'm just proud of myself for DNFing 2 things this month because I'm not good at it, but here we are. I did it. I did it. Let's talk about Wolf Girl and the Black Prince. So I don't normally talk about manga during these, but listen. So like I have both Viz apps and I read on them, right? So I'm reading this on the Viz Media app because I was like, Shay was like, I didn't really like it, and the reviews are really mixed, and I'm reading it and I was like, this is one of the worst manga I've read. It's not like bad art, it's just like awful storytelling, awful characters, like, and it's supposed to be a shoujo, like, I'm supposed to like them. I'm supposed to want to root for them to be together. I wanted both of them to fall off a cliff. It was so bad. It was so bad, y'all. Like, I still cannot believe how bad this book was. So I'm glad I read it digitally on Viz Media app and didn't buy it. But yeah, I think this is one where I feel like unless you really love a toxic, terrible people falling in love situation, skip. I know people were mad when it got announced because like there was this expectation of, you know, newer mangas, and this is an older one, so I don't know. I just skip it. Like, skip it. Like, please don't read this. It is so bad. And then last but not least for my kind of lows is I finished a series that I really liked this year called The Alahim Witches, or Duology, something like that. The second book is The Moonlit Dance. This is by Zoe Abrams. I really liked The Crescent Spell. I found it really fun. I found it really enjoyable. And then reading The Moonlit Dance, I was left kind of disappointed, to be honest, at the end of the day. I didn't feel like it was a super strong ending. I think it needed a little more time to develop, personally. I just wasn't thrilled at the end of the day with how it played out overall. Again, not terrible, like it's not the worst thing I read, but I just, after how much I liked The Crescent Spell and waiting for this to be released, it just didn't work for me at the end of the day to that extent. Like, I left it feeling pretty indifferent about the entire series, and like, that's sad. I don't like it when I read a book 1 and then end up not loving book 2 slash the finale of the trilogy. Like, that's the worst. This is something where I feel like almost if it had been one book it might have been better, and or even maybe a third book actually to like tell a little more of the story, because it just felt so rushed by the end. Let's talk about our surprises. Again, this was just such an interesting reading month at the end of the day. I honestly feel like I read some good ones. And yeah, let's talk about my surprises. So I finally read the ever popular Fourth Wing this month, and I enjoyed this way more than I expected to. This was like a 4 for me. I would go to the midnight release party for Iron Flame, okay? Like, I would pick it up. It would be fun. I think this is one of those books that if you, like me, were reading The Hunger Games and Divergent and some of those books and are wanting that energy in a more adult book, Fourth Wing's your book. This is like very it's basic, and there's nothing wrong with basic, right? And I'm not gonna say it doesn't have issues, but it's basic, right? So I felt like it had every single trope packed in there that you want from those kinds of books in one spot. That's all you need. I was glad. I was worried that it would end up being a total disappointment for me, but honestly at the end of the day, I had a lot of fun. I do feel like not a lot happened. Like, stuff was happening, but it was pretty slow, and then like that last 40% crammed a lot in and left you hanging and wanting book 2. So that's a skill, you know, at the end of the day. That's a skill. And I'm happy that it's a skill and that worked for me. And I think I was looking for a book that was just a fun time. And that's exactly what Fourth Wing gave me. But like I said, I don't think like any of the criticisms are invalid about it either. It's one of those books that I feel like is really divisive for a reason beyond its popularity, because it does just feature a lot of things happening. Like, it's just, like, to me it really felt like a callback to a lot of things that I have read before in like a really fun way. It's a very early entry like level fantasy. You know, there's not a bunch of world dumping, like world building dumping on you. There's not a lot of like, there's a lot of stakes and a lot of death and stress, but it's all like kind of countered with some humor and like some fun character interactions, things that kind of take your mind off the like level of stakes happening, so it doesn't feel as like intense and of a thing. Then my other surprise, I actually picked up a special edition at Steamulate of Is Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. I finally read this. I know that this is a book that a lot of people love. And I have been so scared to read it and afraid I would hate it, because it just isn't necessarily my premise, right? You know, Alexis is our heroine, who is very much the like, she's grumpy, he's kind of sunshiny. You know, Alexis has this family legacy to carry on and all these expectations. Our mailman character, Daniel, is like 10 years younger than her. Like, it's got some of the stuff I love, like older woman, younger man, which I didn't realize at first, apparently. I don't know how I missed this, but somehow I missed that bit. It's like a surgeon or doctor, whatever, I don't know, important family in medicine. And he lives in this tiny town that's a tourist place and runs an Airbnb and has a carpentry business. Like, he's precious. And I think for me, their dynamic really sold the relationship. I didn't love some of the third act stuff, but overall, like, it just had a lot of funny moments for such a like sweet romance. I don't mean sweet as in closed door either. It's just like, I felt like it was a very sweet romance. But yeah, when they had this at Steamulate, your girl had to get it and get it signed, because hello, this cover's a beautiful. By the way, I think it's back on stock on their site too. But yeah, overall, like, I just was surprised at how much I liked this. Again, same thing as Fourth Wing, right? It had a lot of hype. A lot of people loved it, talked about how funny it was. And I get nervous when people tell me a book's like really good or funny, because I often don't connect with those same titles that other people do. So yeah, that's interesting. And last but not least is Role Playing by Kathleen Yardley. So this is another one where a lot of friends liked it. I saw mostly rave reviews, and I was just kind of nervous because, like, I play video games, right? And our hero and heroines, our both main characters play video games together. It's not that I didn't think Kathleen could nail it, okay? Like, it's not that. It was just like, you get nervous, like, is this gonna work? Am I gonna feel like this is ridiculous? But it actually worked really, really well for me. I really liked our older characters. I mean, the cover's stunning. That cover is stunning, so like that helps. But I really liked the older characters. I really liked their dynamic. It was very much small town, which is also not my jam usually. I don't like love big city either. I just don't like, actual small town is not always my fave. But yeah, this was really fun. We follow our main character whose son just went off to college, and he's like trying to get her to get out more, which is really cute. And then we follow our hero. He is a like kind of reclusive, taking care of his mom, quit his job to do that. And it's just like this slow burn, another slow burn, which, like, again, not usually my jam, romance between the two of them. And they basically end up, the romance is kind of them interacting through the guild that they're in. And then the reveal, of course, is that, oh no, he's not a child like she thought. She thought he was like in his 20s. No, he's like 50 something. And she's in her late 40s. And it just was really sweet. I didn't love the third act stuff with her ex. That was a little bit whatever for me, not my favorite. And I didn't love all the stuff with his family. There is some biphobia in this, / panphobia, as well as just like general like a phobia around someone like being gay. And that was really uncomfortable, but our female main character really stood up for him, which I really appreciated and enjoyed. We also explored some of the idea around demisexuality in this, which was really fun and nice to see, because that's discussed a little bit more in depth here, as far as a character realizing that that's what they perhaps identify as. But yeah, I think this just like paid off really well for me. It's fun banter, good writing, like all the things, right? So I just was really surprised how much I liked it. A lot of my friends were reading their copies early, and I was just like, I don't know, what if I hate it? So I put it off, and I'm not mad that I finally read it. and loved it. Our last 3 are my highs for the month. So first up we have Death's Obsession. I talked about this in one of my vlogs, I know, but I really liked this book. This was like #1 in the paranormal charts on Amazon randomly. I didn't even realize. This worked really well for me because like it gave me all the dark romance vibes and like stalker hero vibes, but like the hero was death, so it made sense in a lot of ways. And this follows our main character Lilith like healing and learning to like live after a really traumatic accident and also being visited by death in her sleep. And like it's like weirdly romantic and also creepy all at once. Like I feel like she nailed the balance between you being like I kind of like death but also this is uncomfortable. But yeah, I loved this. If you haven't read this yet, this is a great novella for the fall season, I feel like, if you're into what I'm talking about obviously as well. But yeah, I'm really curious to see what else this author writes. I think that there's a lot of potential here for their writing. This was just really engaging for me and an enjoyable read all around. Then I read Zara by S.J. Jones. This is not my first book by S.J. Jones. I did read Winter Song and I was really excited when she shared about Zara, and I was nervous also because I've seen some mixed reviews on it and I totally can see why it didn't work for some people, but I found this to just be similar to Fourth Wing, a very fun kind of turn my brain off Sailor Moon inspired-esque fantasy YA romance situation. I had so much fun. I think this was a really fun one because you just you're just on the journey with them. And I really enjoyed some of the systems being built. Like nothing was overly complicated or too hard to follow. I was listening to this on an airplane, and for me that's important when I'm like traveling. I want something that's simple, and this 100% was that. Like it was so chill that I just had a good time listening, enjoying the story, watching where it went, watching the little like bits of romance and people being like, you guys just need to talk to each other, you idiots. I also loved like the little nod to like romance books in this. That was really cute because she talks about a serial romance book that's like very popular, and I think that's just so fun. Yeah, I think if you like me just sometimes want a kind of low-key fantasy that's not like super high stress or like overly involved, this might be a good option if you're open to YA age demographic stuff. I also think this for me was just the right time, right place, you know? Like I said, I listened to a lot of it on an airplane and it just was kind of the right book for the airplane, you know? Like I just was there, I was engaged, I was having a good time, and I was distracted by the fact that I was on an airplane. I did receive an ARC of this from the publisher, but I also got the audiobook from my library as well, so just so you know. Last but not least is the other work I read this month that I loved and was a high is My Happy Marriage Volume 1 of the light novel. So there's a light novel, there's a manga, and there is an anime now for this series, and I will be reading all of it and watching all of it. So I will be double dipping on this, which isn't something I normally would be tempted to do, but I really freaking liked the light novel of this so much. So this is a Cinderella retelling with paranormal elements, and if you maybe have wanted to try manga but don't want to read manga itself, but like are interested in the stories, a light novel might be the right option for you. These feature words on the page. They're short, they're all under like 200 pages for the most part. Quick reads, really enjoyable. Are ever intrigued by a manga story and a light novel exists, you could always pick that up if you like don't want to read manga. That's fine. But My Happy Marriage delivered so much on the Cinderella retelling, but also on a hero who really wanted to help strengthen the heroine and help her find herself as he realized that she'd come from a really shitty situation. So like content note on this, obviously Cinderella retelling, like very abusive family, terrible to her, you know, literally just constant abuse when we flash back to her family, I feel like. And also the idea that she's worthless because her powers didn't happen like they thought. But yeah, it's such a sweet book. It was so stinking cute. I seriously had such a blast reading this that I can't wait to read volume 2 probably this month as well. I'm basically caught up on the manga until volume 4 comes out. And this is another one, it's very popular. There's a good chance your library might actually have it. Keep that in mind as well. But yeah, there is an anime as well if you like are intrigued by what I'm telling you. You can try that. I have not watched it yet, but I will watch it eventually. But yeah, this was so fun. My first like full light novel, I've read Danmi, which is the Chinese novels, but that's different than a light novel. And this was just so good. You're gonna have a little bit of clunkiness with some of the writing in these as well. I will note that, but I think it worked really, really well. If you are really intrigued by it, I can't recommend it enough. I'm really excited to read the rest of them. I think we're up to volume 4 of the light novel in the States, so I do plan to continue there. That's my highs, lows, and all that. Let me know down below your favorite thing you read or your least favorite, or both. Give me your high and your low if something surprised you. And if you don't want to do any of that, leave me a bag emoji, because I just had to stop filming because Peas was like playing in her little like toy bag I got her that's like a coffee drink thing. And it was so loud because it's so crinkly even though it's downstairs. But yeah, leave me like a bag shopping emoji of your choice down below. And if you want links to any of these books, I'll have those down below for you, as well as links to my friend anywhere on the internet. And I will talk to y'all in just a few days. Bye.
Already packing, come with me. I'm not really asking. We'll get away to a place where we don't know. About to see the world in action, what we can be, life with no distractions. We'll get away. This is what we